Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Mike here at Game From Scratch, and we have another chapter in the ongoing Unity saga. Now, this has been a long time in the running, to be honest. Probably goes back to when they had their IPO, but we know recently they got into some issues with the runtime fee. We'll get back to that in just a minute. But Unity got into cash problems, and that's weird because Unity had all kinds of cash because of a very successful IPO. Well, one of the major areas where they spent their money is they spent $1.6 billion acquiring Weta Digital. Now, this is the VFX house of Weta. Weta is the movie production company by Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings, Kong, all of that stuff. These were the guys that basically made the custom in-house tooling for Weta. They were going to remain, Weta was going to keep using Weta Digital as their customer, and as part of the acquisition, they acquired all of the IP, the software, and so on, plus 275 employees. That is going to be very relevant to the rest of this conversation. They also got some of their technologies, Manuka, Gazebo, Loki, basically various different pieces, as well as facial tech. We saw some of that demonstrated from Unity's side of things, but this purchase never really made a lot of sense because Unity just didn't really exist in this film AAA world. They're not like Unreal Engine is in this regard. They were kind of an unknown player, and this acquisition, you could call it how to burn $1.6 billion, and the reality seems to bear that out. Well, the thing is, Unity got into some cash flow problems. So basically, they were spending too much and they were making too little. Wall Street does not like that. And part of the reason why they were spending too much or making too little is because they were doing things like spending $1.6 billion on Weta Digital. There's more to it than that. Also, you can probably blame most of Unity's problems, to be honest, on Apple. Now, Apple made a change a while back to the whole way that you couldn't track users with ads anymore. And a big part of Unity's most successful business was their ad units on Apple platforms. So when that went away, the revenue from that went away, a whole bunch of companies got impacted by that. Facebook did as well. They hit the whole industry pretty hard. So Unity had a cash flow problem, and their solution to that was going to be the Unity runtime fee. Now, I've covered this ad nauseum on the channel. I'm not going to reiterate it too much. Basically, what they wanted to do is charge a per install fee on anything that used Unity. So basically, you need to have the runtime to make a Unity game. There were thresholds. It would only apply to certain people. But let's just say retroactively applying a fee to your entire customer base did not go over well. And we'll just leave it at that. So they did walk that back. So on the 22nd, they said this is only going to be from Unity 2023 point something and beyond, which, by the way, is now Unity 6. I have an upcoming video explaining exactly what Unity 6 is and how we got there. But the good news is this whole runtime fee thing is just going to apply to future versions of Unity. And you can think of it as an overly complicated royalty system on top of the normal fees you pay now. So Unity developers going forward have to decide if the value proposition is there or not, but that is where we kind of ended up on the Unity runtime fee. So this, in the whole backlash to their community, all those things didn't turn out that well. In fact, they got the CEO fired. Now, honestly, I don't think anyone is sad to see Riccitiello go, other than maybe Riccitiello. So the CEO had to fall on his sword for this one, and in walked to replace him a fellow by the name of Mr. Whitehurst. Now, Whitehurst was at Red Hat before it was acquired by IBM. He's got a lot of history in tech, but not necessarily in game development, and he has taken the reins as interim CEO. He seems like a really solid guy, and there seems to be a lot of confidence in him. But one of the things that immediately came about after that announcement is that they were going to be doing a comprehensive assessment of its portfolio to refocus the business on its core products. Now, the truth of the matter is, as a game development channel and game developers in general, this is a good thing. Now, I would have loved to have heard that it was more at Iron Source side of things than it was on the whole Weta side of things, but focusing on your core business does make some sense. And they're going to talk about, how to get revenue under control. They were looking at doing it. They were going to do layoffs and maybe close some operations. They just basically looked at things we're going to do, and those were going to be later on. Well, later on has just arrived, as reported by Routers, and they're cutting 3.8% of their staff in a company reset. So the entire idea here is that they're going to focus more on game development. That's actually not something that I'm sad to hear. I would love to hear, again, more about Iron Source and moving away from that round of things. But yeah, so this is where they're focusing. They will eliminate 265 jobs, or 3.8% of its global workforce, and end the agreement with a digital video effects company founded by Lord of the Rings director as part of the reset. Remember that number before? 275 employees were part of Weta Digital, and now they're laying off 265 people. This looks like it is mostly just going to hit that Weta part of things. So again, I could have titled this video, How to Waste $1.6 billion. Good job, John. You did a wonderful thing there. Yeah, that whole purchase was basically being flushed down the toilet at this point in time, but not totally and not completely. So they talk a little bit more about the runtime fee we just covered, that John is out and that Jim Whitehurst is now in it as CEO. So the announcement here includes termination of the professional services piece of an agreement Unity struck with movie director Peter Jackson's visual effects company Weta Effects in 2021 after Unity purchased the technology and engineering division of Weta Effects. As a result, 265 employees' jobs are related to the agreement will be laid off, the company said. So that is pretty much entirely where the cuts are going to be. On top of that, they're shutting down a couple of satellite offices, and they're walking back some of their work from home announcements. So they're going to shut down offices of 14 locations, such as Berlin and Singapore, pending employee consultations in some countries that significantly reduce its office footprints for the remaining offices, including San Francisco and Bellevue, Washington. So it looks like they're actually going to go to more of a work from home environment. There was a lot of fight back from when they tried to get people back in the offices after COVID. So it's interesting to see that they're kind of moving that way. So there's no longer a mandate. Employees will work from offices 3 days a week and reduce the full in-office services to 3 days a week in most locations. More changes are in store to refocus Unity's business, Whitehurst told Reuters. While no additions have been finalized, it's clear that we will reduce the number of things we are doing overall. So they're moving out of the Weta digital effects business, which honestly never made any sense to me at all. But yeah, we've come full circle, and this Weta Digital acquisition back in November 10th is over. Now, one of the things is they are going to be keeping the IP, all the digital rights. So some of the stuff that is being integrated into Unity from that Weta is still going to show up. So we've been seeing Weta Digital tools at Unite. They had a number of sessions on using Weta tools and so on. It's the whole working in film part that is going to completely go away. So some of the technology could still show up in Unity in future versions, but they're again focusing on game development side of things and away from these distractions or idiocies. So I never celebrate layoffs. I don't like to hear about a bunch of people at Weta. I would have rather that they actually sold the company or sold it back to Weta, so those people would not have the job losses here. But honestly, owning Weta Digital, I should say, never really made sense for Unity, in my opinion. So this is a correction, and Unity focusing more on games. Honestly, I think that's a good thing. But I'm curious, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will talk to you all later. Goodbye.